Hello. All right. I promise I do change my clothes. I just seem to always be in the same thing when I jump on here. All right. So this morning was wild, crazy town. It's storming. Had to go to the grocery store, squeeze my pennies. Anyway, I can read for, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes because I've got something in the oven that has to come out, and then I have to mark like 50 exams, and I'm just going to tuck myself into bed with a cup of tea, the exams, and Murder, She Wrote, and I'm just going to stay there until they're done so that I can drop them off this evening on my way to work. Timmy is here. I left the box out for him, so he's chewing away merrily. All right, this chapter is entitled Madam's RSVP. Who'd marry you? I feel sorry for him. Not even vinegary old B could burst my bubble as everyone gathered round to admire the diamond flashing from my ring finger. Madam's face had lit up with genuine joy for me when I shared my big news. And of course she had said all the right things, but her smile had just as quickly faded as the full impact of me getting married hit her. My position was a live-in job. I'd kept my engagement a secret for a full month at 1040 because I was worried she'd start looking right away for someone to replace me. Oh, we're going to lose you, she said. No, madam, I'm going to stay working for a couple of years, I said. I was hoping we could work around the full-time live-in status. I'm so glad, madam said with obvious relief. Seamus is a great guy, she added. Obviously, I'd be living full-time with my husband once we tied the knot, I explained, not wanting there to be any misunderstanding after the vows were exchanged. Most likely that would be in Queens, where Seamus already had a good-sized apartment he had been sharing with his brother and sister, who had been moving on anyway by the time we married. I hope it's a safe place, madam said. How are you going to get back and forth to me, though? Subway, I said. It took about 3/4 of an hour to get from Astoria to the Upper East Side. The subway? Isn't that too dangerous? If she thought fear of commuting was going to keep me in my posy pink room during the work week when I became a newlywed, she had another thing coming. Oh, no, I take it all the time, I said. Madam had a little girl way of charming you into reassuring her, even though, in this case, her concerns were well-founded. The subway, truth be told, was not at all safe for a woman to be riding alone at night. Even if you did escape the notice of the purse snatchers and perverts, the cars were still filthy, and the stairs leading from the street down to the platforms always reeked of warm piss. I was so determined to flaunt my self-sufficiency, I completely missed the opening to ask my employer, one of the wealthiest women on the planet, for a few measly dollars in car fare to and from work each day. But it wasn't shyness that held me back. It was pride and stubbornness. Ma'am and Dad had raised a... Don't you come over here too, Timothy. Ma'am and Dad had raised all of us to take care of ourselves, to never be beholden to anyone. There had to be a middle ground somewhere, but I was still looking for the map. My biggest problem, Seamus and Johnny Cash had made clear, wasn't Madam taking advantage of me. It was me encouraging it. I drew a deep breath. Of course, I'll need to keep more regular hours once I'm married, I told Madam matter-of-factly. We both left it at that for the time being. Baby steps, I thought. Seamus and I had set a date for November 20, 1971, nearly a year away, but I was still anxious about planning a wedding around my scattershot days off. My imagined time crunch became all too real when a letter arrived from Inniskeen that April. Aunt Bridge was worried sick about Mam. One of you girls had better come home, the letter urged. Your Mam won't leave bed and she won't eat. Mam had struggled... Oh, Timmy. Mam had struggled now and then with the bout of the blues for as long as I could remember, even occasionally before Dad died, drawing in on herself for days or maybe a week at a time, but never taking to bed like this. The downward spiral had started after she returned to Ireland from Breege's wedding. From Breege's wedding the year before, according to our aunt. Mam had never been to New York before, and she'd had a great time seeing all the sights for the months she stayed. Toward the end of her trip, though, I noticed her spirits beginning to sink, and the sadness settled over her so fast and so heavy that I found a psychiatrist around the corner from my apartment and made her go, even though one visit was probably all I would be able to afford. It was worth it to get a professional opinion and advice, though. The doctor confirmed that it was depression and said Mam would probably be okay once she got home again. She should go see a doctor in Ireland, though. She hadn't, and the cloud hadn't lifted. And now here was Aunt Bridge begging my sister and me for help. Mam wasn't even getting up to go to church anymore. Well, I can't go, Bridge said, handing the letter back to me. That was as obvious as her round belly. She was in her last trimester. Even though I knew it was true she couldn't travel so late in her pregnancy, I still resented her free pass. My life, as usual, was going to be the one put on hold. Planning my wedding would have to wait. You have the zoomies. Oh, don't come over here, though. Don't come on the table with the zoomies. No! Oh, he jumped on the desk, the little brat. Timmy, get back on the sofa. All right. I showed Madam the letter and asked if I could take time off to go care for my ailing mother. Certainly you can go, she said. She knew how upsetting this must be for me. If you try to step on that, you're going to fall, because... Okay. What's this be for me? B. She added. Nancy Tuckerman would book a flight for me right away, and there was something else. I hope your mother is well enough to travel, Madam said. I'm giving you a ticket to bring her back with you. Aw. I thanked her, knowing even then that the extra ticket would never be used. When I arrived at my childhood home, I expected to walk through the door and find Mam perked up by the prospect of seeing me, sitting by the kitchen fire waiting. Will you stop that? Maybe even putting a chicken in the pot for a celebratory dinner. Stop. The fragrance... Oh, he's just looking for something to do. You be good. I've got the cat and the rabbit up on the desk. Yes, you, Timothy. Timothy Russell. All right. I thanked her. Okay, the chicken. The fragrance of the fresh bread she had made that morning would still be lingering in the air. My brothers would come in from working the fields, and we would all have a nice reunion, and everything would be fine again. But the kitchen was empty, and the air was heavy and stale. Peering into her dark bedroom, I could see a figure beneath the white sheets. Ma'am, Aunt Bridge says you're not getting up, I said, my tone more accusatory than pleading. If coaxing could work at this stage, Aunt Bridge already would have succeeded. I needed to be tough. Let her know this nonsense was over. I can't get up, she replied dully. I don't know why. Come on, I'll help you, I insisted. I got her robe and held it out for her. Let's go sit by the fire. No, I don't want to, she cried. I hate that kitchen. I don't want to be in there. Oh, girl. Oh, can't every woman understand that? I retreated to make some tea and toast. If she wouldn't get up, maybe I could at least get a bit of food in her. She had always been stout and rosy-cheeked, but now she looked haggard and empty. She was only 56 years old. I took the tray in and sat at her bedside, but she left it untouched. I wasn't sure whether it was because she couldn't bring herself to or simply wouldn't. Part of me still wrestled with the notion that this was all a dramatic ploy for attention. She'd never wanted Bridge and me to go to America in the first place. That was all Dad's doing. And she never stopped hoping that her daughters would come back home to her. Spending all that time with us in New York had only made her pine that much harder. Days passed with me making no progress. Waiting her out wasn't going to work. I needed a new strategy. Days passed with me making no progress. Waiting her out wasn't going to work. I needed a new strategy. We have to do something, ma'am, I told her the next day. How about we go see Aunt Kathleen? Do you think we can do that? Kathleen Carroll was her sister-in-law, who lived a mile and a half away. They'd always enjoyed visiting back and forth before. To my surprise and relief, ma'am agreed. I think I can walk to see her, she said. I had expected resistance, and I wasn't sure whether to trust this breakthrough. She could just be going through the motions to get me to stop badgering her. You're going? I double-checked. Yes, she said. She roused herself and began to dress. Aunt Kathleen was thrilled to see us, and we stayed for tea and a good long chat. Ma'am and I went back home with me silently congratulating myself for a mission accomplished. The next morning, she refused to get up again. I waited until mid-afternoon, then put on my coat and went into her room. I'm going to leave you here for a while I go to see Mrs. Kirk, I announced. Mrs. Kirk was a cousin of Ma'am's and had been maid of honor at her wedding. They'd been great friends their whole lives. I'll come with you. Ma'am flew out of bed and fixed herself up, and off we went to Mrs. Kirk's. By now, I was convinced that Ma'am was making a cod of me. Jim and Oni, the only ones still living at home, were out working all day and spending their free time with friends of their own. Jim had a girl he was serious about. Our house was tucked far back from the road, down an unpaved lane full of potholes, and you couldn't see another human being for a month. There were no other houses in sight, no lights, no voices. With her children grown and her husband gone, Ma'am was stuck alone much of the time with only the sound of the miserable, constant rain outside to break the silence. Companionship was what she wanted, but wasn't something I could provide indefinitely. I was just starting to claim my own life now. I hated to see Ma'am suffering, but at the same time, a part of me also felt like I was being held emotionally hostage. Every day was a repeat of the same struggle with Ma'am, and I realized I would never be able to leave Ireland if the two of us stayed locked in this tango. The bicycle messenger had already pedaled up the lane with the first telegram from New York. It was signed Nancy Tuckerman. But obviously she was just following Madam's instructions. How is Mom doing? Stop. Hope better. Stop. When coming back? Stop. It had been just 2 weeks. Could I not for once put my own family first when they needed me more? I thought resentfully. I wired back. Not good. Stop. Need to stay. Stop. Another week passed, with Ma'am still showing no inclination to stay out of bed and get back to her normal life. I tried to busy myself by mopping the floor and tidying the cupboards. There were still hens to feed, but I don't know. I'm getting annoyed because I'm like, just bring her back to New York. Put her in that apartment of yours. You and your sister can go back and forth. Bridie can be, I don't know, but I'm old. There were still hens to feed, but Ma'am had stopped having anything to do with turkeys ages ago. I spent tedious hours sitting by the fire in the kitchen just thinking and waiting. I came all the way from the United States to see you, and you won't come out and talk to me, I called crossly into the dark bedroom. You just make me sit here by myself. One afternoon when I went out to pick up groceries at Finnegan's Market, I called back over to Mrs. Kirk's, desperate for advice. Could she come talk to Ma'am, I asked, to see if maybe she could get her to snap out of it. Mrs. Kirk shook her head sadly. She didn't think people could just decide to stop being depressed. This might be more serious than I realized. You better get her to a doctor, Kathleen, she urged me. The bicycle messenger arrived with another telegram. How much longer? Stop. I started making appointments, dragging Ma'am from office to office for tests and consultations. Somewhere along the way, I learned of some nuns who ran a nursing home in Dublin for women who'd had nervous breakdowns or were seriously depressed. I got in touch, and they said they could help her. No, I'm not going there, Ma'am declared. They're just going to abuse me and push me around. Ma'am, they won't, I promised. It's not like that. They'll make sure you get up and get dressed and get some exercise and good nutrition. You'll go to church every day and get communion. Ma'am reluctantly agreed to give it a try. I'd sent word to Seamus of my plan, and he had gallantly offered to use his own vacation time to fly to Dublin and help me. The telegrams were coming from Nancy Tuckerman every few days now, more urgent than the last, reminding me I was overdue back home, wanting to know when I was returning. I had to walk 1.5 miles to the village each time to reply, a variation each time of the same message. Need more time. Stop. Madam probably had convinced herself I wasn't returning at all, that I had my Irish fiancé now and we were going to make a life for ourselves back in Ireland. It would be time to go to the Cape soon, and she was worried I was abandoning her. Returning to Ireland for good always had been my dream, true enough, but Seamus and I saw that happening in some distant, successful, middle-aged future, not right away. We both loved New York, and Seamus saw a more exciting future for himself in construction here than back home. I believed in him, too. We had a real shot at staking a claim of our own piece of the storied American dream now. I managed to deliver Ma'am safely to the nuns' care, and they soon reported back that she was starting to come along. They were getting her up each morning to go eat breakfast at the table with the rest of the patients and taking her for mandatory walks in the garden and to daily prayers. She would need to stay a while longer. It took 2 weeks, they had cautioned me when she checked in. Seamus flew into Dublin Airport, and the mere sight of him instantly restored me from my own utter weariness. We dashed off to Leitrim to see his family for a couple of days and stopped to visit Ma'am when we got back. She adored Seamus and was thrilled to see us. I'm coming home with you today, she said. No, ma'am, I reminded her. They said you need to stay another week. Her face sagged with disappointment, and maybe because Seamus was there, shame. A lot of patients are worse than me, she sulked. I'm not that bad at all. No, I agreed gently. You're not bad at all. I still had the extra ticket Madam had bought me. She couldn't have known that her generosity came with the price tag I could never manage. Looking at my needy, broken mother, I knew I couldn't care for her in New York. American doctors were notoriously leery of uninsured immigrants who never paid, leaving their debts behind when they just turned around and went back home. And psychiatrist bills aside, I couldn't very well quit my job to babysit Ma'am. Aunt Bridge wasn't helping my guilt by reminding me every time she saw me that this was my fault. My fault and Bridge's. We shouldn't have gone to America and left Ma'am in the first place, she snipped. And bringing Ma'am over for Bridge's wedding had only served to rub it in her face the life she couldn't have, with her daughters by her side as they should be. Okay. Ma'am was back in bed when Seamus and I left for the airport. It was early July and our wedding was just 4 months away. I knew it was unlikely Ma'am would be there, so I reminded her that both Seamus and I would be back the following summer for a nice long visit. It was the most I had to offer. It was only after my brother Oni moved her to a small house he bought up on the main road next to Finnegan's shop, a house with no memories of the daughter and husband she had lost, that her sorrow finally lifted. Well, there you go. I don't know. This annoyed me. This really ticked me right off. I just didn't like the selfishness that I saw in it. It really rubbed me the wrong way. Because it's like, yes, you do have your own life, but like your mother, right? Who has sacrificed her whole life to make sure that you could get where you are. And you're like, I can't look after her. Oh my gosh, I have my own life. Oh, I know it's hard, but I'm not saying that you can't have your own life. Like goodness knows, marry who you want to marry and be where you want to be. But surely she could have given her mom that plane ticket and brought her back home. But I'm old-fashioned, I guess, and she's but a girl. But I mean, she's 26, probably 27 by now. So goodness knows. All right. I think we're going to have to stop there for now because I can smell my food in the oven and I think it might be ready and I don't want a chance burning it. I know this is very, very short, but it's just a little snippet because I've got a million things to do and I might be able to jump back on before I have to go to work. We shall see. If not, I'll probably be on when I get home very, very, very late tonight. So you'll probably have it in the morning. So anyway, thank you so much for being with me and thank you for all of your comments. I did try my best to catch up with comments this morning. And yes, I love your comments. They honestly get me out of bed on time. So keep it up because this morning I was going to hit the snooze button and then I saw that there was a comment and I was like, must respond. And then by the time I start responding, I'm awake. So all right. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm sorry I didn't make it to even 20 minutes, but I'll be back on later. See you soon. Bye.